evening. I call to order this January 27th, 2026 meeting of the Blair Mayor and City Council. I am Mindy Rump, the Mayor of Blair, and I'm pleased that you have joined us this evening. This is a public meeting and you are part of the process. I encourage you to participate, ask questions, and share your thoughts. I want you to feel comfortable, so I will do everything that I can to make sure that your voice is heard. We do have several rules to help us proceed with the meeting, and I ask that you please keep them in mind. Please turn off your cell phones. If you need to take a call, step outside the chamber. When you wish to speak, simply raise your hand and I will recognize you and you can come forward to the podium. Brenda Wheeler, our city clerk, must record who you are, so please state your name, spell your last name, and state your address. Keep your remarks brief, about 3 minutes, so that others have the opportunity to speak. And please, call of members. Van Wolf?
Here.
Willis?
Here.
Clark?
Here.
Letcher?
Yep.
Highfield?
Here.
All members are present. Thank you. If you could please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item number 4, approval of the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Let's register the vote. All council members present voting aye. Motion passes. Item number 4, I'll open a public hearing to consider a non-conforming use limited extension application submitted by John R. Henton, 13092 US Highway 30, to extend the use of his dirt, soil, sand, gravel, and rock borrow pits and processing sites on Lot 2, Henton Camping and Storage Subdivision, City of Blair, Washington County, Nebraska, until October 13th, 2035, otherwise known as 13045 US Highway 30. Mr. Byron.
Good evening, Mayor Rump, and good evening, Council. First off, we were planning and zoning from earlier this month is the limited use extension, non-conforming use limited extension application for the borrow pit by Henton on Henton Lot 2 Henton Camping and Storage Subdivision. I think when we revisited a CUP request months and months ago, the lot had not been subdivided yet. That's why it looks a little different this time, with Lot 2 being the biggest lot at the north. This is located on the southern edge of the city of Blair. Currently, the zoning is ACH, it's changed also, and this non-conforming use limit extension is meant to replace a current CUP that Mr. Hinton has out for until 2035. In this extension, he is asking for an extra 10 days of crushing and recycling operations. In November 28th, he was granted 30 days, he wants 40 now. We did make a recommendation for it to do the timeline for hourly, and we'll get to that in a little bit. Anyway, the applicant has hired Olson Engineering to work with the state of Nebraska for relevant permits. This is the information supplied earlier this year about the pollutants and the annual PTE potential to emit. Mr. Henton, if he's here tonight, can address those a little better than I can if he needs to. Right now we show the land itself and an overview of our GIS located here off of Highway 30. This is Lot 2. This is the current zoning. This has all been turned into ACH, which is agricultural highway commercial. The reason it went to a limited extension, non-conforming extension, was because he had the CUP when it was changed into ACH. That meant that he was given the right to still do this, but it was no longer a CUP. It had to be this new language for that. Essentially, it is the same thing as a CUP. This is a little closer view of his operations here. He does have contractor's yard permit for there. This would be the borrow pit on that area. Across the street is a trucking place, county yards right here, and kind of an agricultural place here, and then Henton's house where his parents, I think, is across the street at his office. Here we have a view looking south on US 30. This is the entrance to the lot there. This is down by Berry Hill Road, looking also to the southwest. Here's the original application for non-conforming use, and here's the actual application taken back for the CUP. Back then, he was restricted to those CUP recommendations. For the new CUP or extension recommendations, we've asked for restricted hours like the same 7 to 6, required to use dust control, obtain all state agency permits, maintain a log of concrete crushing operations, city of Blair, which we will be checking, and the stipulations that last until 10/13/35, which is when everything, which is what I think is contractor yard also ends. The current CUP ends in 2028. We did have a discussion during the planning commission on 40 hours. Mr. Henson and I even had a conversation. 8 hours a day is what I think. He thinks that full day could be anywhere between 10 to 12 and this and that. So it really became a part of how do you define a day. Working with the planning commission, we also came up with the idea that it would be measured in hours instead of days. So right now, he's recommending 400 hours, which would be 40 10-hour days. Planning commission did recommend approval of this as presented with the stipulations 8-0. And as a video link, I'm not sure if he's going to play that or if we need to, but I'll wait for questions and Mr. Henson will ask about that. With that, any questions for staff?
And Jeff, just to clarify, sorry, the planning commission recommended 400 hours, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, you mentioned 10 40 10-hour days, but it's not stipulated that way. It's
No,
400 hours.
it's 400 hours, measured at 400 hours instead of days.
Will the city be notified of the days that crushing activities taking place?
That was not part of the discussions. You can certainly recommend that he does let us know.
And they have been already, yeah. And so what we've been talking about doing is setting up basically a shared file where their staff would be able to basically go in, log what hours they're going to be utilizing it. We have access to that shared file as well, so we can monitor it.
Okay, that was gonna be my next question. Is there any log or other system keeping track of the hours and days that are being utilized? And with this, if the share file system is implemented, would there be any way or periodic verifying that that's actually not being exceeded?
Oh, yeah, we'll have to manually check that. And again, as far as notifying when, they have not in the past, because this happens whenever it happens, but that certainly can be one of the recommendations that council makes. They let us know, email, that would be fine, saying we will be crushing today, and then we'll periodically check the log, make sure they're not exceeding.
Any questions for staff? Thank you. Would the applicant like to come forward?
Hi there, John Henton, 9505 County Road 29, Blair. I've got some information here for you that I'd like you to review a little bit. I'll go through it quickly, show you some of the things that I've got here for you. I also have our crusher log that we keep every day. It kind of demonstrates how much time the crusher actually runs in a day, so you can understand that we're looking for hours and not days, because it's not a smooth thing that runs 10 hours at a time. Here, let's see things out. Here's the crusher log. Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to receive and place on file.
We have a motion, and a second, to receive and place on file the entrenching pamphlet.
I'll write a few of the highlights of, excuse me, what I've got going here.
Hey, John, if you can hold it just for a second,
Yeah,
let
sorry.
him go ahead and vote on
Oh,
this.
sorry about
To
that.
places on, no worries. Oh, we no board? I don't get to vote.
All members present, voting aye.
Okay.
I can show.
All right, here we go.
Thank you.
First page I've got, just talks about a few of the things that are in here. We're an old company. I'm second generation. We've been around a long time right here in Blair. I've got a timeline, got a chart of the crusher hours. I've got a map of the distances to the neighbors' properties. I've got pictures of our construction yards, and I've got an independent air quality report. I'll provide it here for you. A couple of things on this timeline is the property was purchased by Hinton Trenching in 1985. It was a construction yard then and had been for some time. Olson Stewart inhabited it. We started limited operations there in 92, moved everything we had over there in 2016. The next page shows the hours that we've crushed every year. 2025 was the highest at 259.5. In 2025, we hired Olson to do the potential to emit study on our crusher and screen plant. The next page shows, is the cover page off of that permit that was done by Olson and Associates, their environmental department. It says that we are actually below what's necessary for a state air quality permit. And this is based on 365 days, 7 days a week of crushing with the equipment that we have. The next page just talks about some steps that we have done to try to fit where we're at. We put calcium on the roads in the spring, helps with the dust on all the roads and around the yard. We purchased our own crushing equipment. In the beginning of this crushing operation, we hired it done, and we couldn't control when they crushed. So they would show up, and anyway, to make a long story short, it didn't always work very well, so we bought our own stuff so we could keep it in-house. We could crush during ideal weather. The crusher has water injection that controls the dust in the machines. Most of them are made to be portable and they run off a water truck. We have water piped over to ours. We added more water injection onto ours to make it even cleaner. Study, like I just talked about, that study was done based on 365 days, 7 days a week. We keep our rock piles down as low as we can and the same height as our east side wall. We have a 12 to 14 foot tall concrete wall on our east property line. We keep everything, try to keep it down to that on the upper tier. Our yard has two levels, the lower yard down behind the trees, and the pile gets a little higher down there. We're going to be adding a 650 foot privacy fence, 6 foot tall, the metal fence that runs along the highway now. We're going to continue that to the west. And that should, and you'll see in Exhibit EF what that looks like, or an idea of what it looks like anyway. All our equipment is a Tier 2, Tier 3, or Tier 4 final diesel emission. We try to do a lot of things to keep things good here. There's no naturally occurring rock in Nebraska. I'll show you in our video some of the things about that. My video that I'll show next talks about the benefits to the community of crushing the concrete. What we can use products for. It gets used everywhere back in town. We take it for free. We crush it. We make it a usable material. It can be substituted for limestone almost anywhere. We sell it back to the community. That way it keeps it local, keeps the mileage down, keeps it from being dumped in landfill, keeps it from being dumped in creeks, things like that. And it's a benefit to everybody around that wants to purchase it back. The next exhibit, or the next page shows the distances. My parents' house is the closest at 698 feet. The rest of them are anywhere from 1156 to 1430, 1500 feet, 1300. So we have a pretty good distance from the neighbors. A shows our existing metal wall there now. That's the wall that will be extended. B shows our concrete sound wind barrier that is 12 to 14 feet tall on our east side. C is just some more of the concrete barrier and the natural trees that are left in place. D as well. E and F show when that wall gets extended, how much of our yard it will cover up and won't be visible from the highway, which is our plans for the spring. We have a video that shows, gives you more crusher information. I think Bill can play that.
Give me just a second, John, please.
Not a very good actor, by the way. Concrete recycling is something that we do a lot here at Henson Trenching because there isn't any natural rock available in eastern Nebraska without mining for it. Either has to be strip mined or tunnel mined. So what we can do here is use our broken up streets, sidewalks, things like that, take that rubble that is normally a waste product and recycle it into useful material. We use it for pipe bedding, parking lots, driveways, any place limestone can be used. This material can almost always be used substitute for that. Most of this rubble is landfill, dumped in creeks, tree lines, places like that where it's undesirable. It can even be a hazard with the rebar sticking out of it, things like that. We have an impact crusher, and it crushes up the concrete or the rubble into 2-inch and smaller diameter pieces. And then it is screened down to several different sizes. We make a 3/8, a 3/4, a 1-inch, an 1.5 inch, and a 2-inch size block.
Just lost connectivity to the project.
It's designed for urban use. It's designed to Hi, my name is John Hinton. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about our recycling operation. Peaks, tree lines, places like that where it's undesirable. It can even be a hazard with the rebar sticking out of it, things like that. We have an impact crusher, and it crushes up the concrete or the rubble into 2-inch and smaller diameter pieces. And then it is screened down to several different sizes. We make a 3/8, a 3/4, a 1-inch, an 1.5 inch, and a 2-inch size block. It's designed for urban use. It's designed to be used in large cities and places like that, to reclaim parking lots, streets, things like that. It uses water injection to control the dust. Because it's an impactor, the noise isn't as great as some other types of crushing. Here I am 178 feet from the crusher. The noise level is a noise level that we can stand here and have a conversation with. With the water injection, it actually falls under the guidelines of the Nebraska Department of Environmental Equality, air quality permit, because it doesn't really emit much dust at all. It also, on our particular site, we have a sediment basin that was engineered, and it has been permitted by the Nebraska Department of Environmental Equality. The material goes through at least 2, if not 3 magnets, sometimes even 4, depending on which size material we're making. Once it passes the magnets pick it up. All that material is then recycled as well. That's a good fit for our area and for the town. It's actually a great community service because we take all the debris from everybody's backyard projects to city streets to whatever, and we take it for free and we sell it back to the community. And it's a great way to
there any intention of increasing the size of the operation, the borrow pit, or the footprint of the operation?
Not much. We should fit in that for quite a while. We did want a few more hours a year though, because even though we haven't surpassed the hours yet, I'm assuming that as things are growing, we're gonna need a little more time.
Right. The only reason I was asking about the size of the, increasing the size of the operation, I was still confused by the maps. Like it mentioned about the RV grounds that we had approved, or that you had considered previously. So I wasn't sure if that was some sort of overlap on that property.
No overlap.
Okay.
We'll stay on that lot one.
And then would you have any objections to being limited to maybe 10 hours a day?
No, we're already limited 7 to 6. And by the time we get started at 7, it's 8 before we get going. And by the time we do our thing.
I heard someone mention something about 12, and I was a little put off by 12, but
Yeah, we're done with it by then, but no, 10 hour days are just fine, so.
You guys have to do maintenance on the machines anyway, don't you? Toward the end of the day, so they gotta shut down.
It takes a bit just to get it fired up and whatnot, so.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any comments from the public? Back.
Patty Ann Beal, B-E-L-I-T-Z, 12936 County Road, I'm sorry.
Sorry, no,
Sorry. Do you need me to repeat that?
yes, please. Thank
Patty
you.
Ann Beal, B-E-L-I-T-Z, 12936 County Road, P26, and the adjoining property owner. There's a corner of it to the east, and opposed to the extension of the CUP at this time, and he has some concerns. I am seeing a large increase in the amount of traffic that I'm seeing on County Road P26, and trucks with the logo, the visible and the business logo. I'm also seeing a large amount of an increase in the equipment, trucks and equipment that are abandoned along my property line. Mr. Hinton just referred that, I believe, to that as the lower yard that's not fenced. And that there's a tree line there. A lot of that tree line was seriously damaged in that August storm, so not sure how much of that going to come back in the spring. So a lot of that has come down. So that might, we might not have a tree line there come spring. There's also the water pit. I'm not sure exactly what that's called. I'm not a construction expert. It's the water pit, lake, pond that will be near what will then eventually be the proposed campground. That's kind of down the hill from the construction site. I'm concerned about that being a hazard for families who will potentially be in a campground area at some point in time. And that campground is down the hill from a construction site. That's a water hazard is a draw for young people, families, kids. And there's no plan to put a fence around that campground, is my understanding, for the water. And there is also, with the increased amount of planned grinding of the concrete, then we also have the increased dust, the particles in the air. I work from home. I wouldn't say it's consistent noise, but there is, I find that from time to time, my computer monitors, there are crashing and vibrating, and I'm having to stabilize my computer monitor on my desk from time to time, as it feels like there's an earthquake in my office, and my dog goes running off barking through the house to see what just happened.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other comments from the public? You can just hold it.
Can I hold it?
Sure.
Bonnie Wolf, WULF, 1572 Colfax Street. I just want to say that in September, I was doing some work for Hinton's outside, and I was there about 4 hours, and they were crushing, and I couldn't hear a thing. And I didn't know they were even crushing until Donna pulled up and said, "How can you be doing this? It's dusty." And I'm like, "It hasn't bothered me," and I was painting, so. And they're the closest one there. So I don't think there's a problem there at all.
Thank you. Other comments from the public?
I think you're Patty Ashall, so where, tell me where.
Pretty close.
Pretty close.
Thank you. Or you can hold it too.
Christina Barta, BARTA 12861, County Road 26.
Even closer.
Oh, really? Okay. All right.
Sorry.
Uh,
That's good, we can hear you.
Yeah.
All right, so the problems have nothing to do with a borrow pit or contractor yard. The use in the 400 hours are for an industrial construction, demolition, waste recycling facility for asphalt and concrete crushing that they were only able to start in 2016 after they privately purchased the 34-acre tax lot number 17 upon the death of Joanne Carroll, promising to keep it ag and undeveloped and only for their Hinton trenching needs. Concrete and asphalt recycling is considered an industrial use, not a permitted use or a CUP exception for the prior ag zone. Industrial use requires a rezone for it to be valid land use according to Nebraska Planning Association. A non-conforming extension only applies to the borough pit and not to industrial recycling. The application in front of you has no request for the concrete and asphalt on it, and no site map or location map doesn't substitute for a site map. Borough pit processing is defined as processing of materials extracted on site, not man-made products brought in from extraneous sources. Vote yes if you want to go against Blair's comprehensive plan, if you want spot zoning, if you want no buffer between industry and private acreages with horses, or between industrial and an RV subdivision. Vote yes for a 54% increase in use over the 2025 log, or a double days of what you thought was okay in 2016. Vote yes for industrial by land, your housing advisory committee deemed to be perfect for residential housing. Vote yes to treat neighbors who owned homes and soon RV park people as second-class citizens, as John had publicly stated at the hearings in 2018 and 2025 that he knows he'll have to move when Southern Ridge and Hills get developed. So when Fancy Pants houses get built further away, the use is not okay, but it's okay for next to us right now. Our ground is adjacent with no buffer, no highway in between, and the retaining wall does not help. Vote yes to open vistas of industry along Blair's scenic byway and the Lincoln Historic Highway if you move the Welcome to Blair sign to the new city limits. Vote yes to traffic safety issues with expanded use of a driveway that's really hard to see from the south grade and only 390 feet from Southern Hills subdivision highway access. Would you want to listen to boom, screech, metallic jackhammer noises, and dumper trucks bang, bang, banging between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m., and no limits on Saturdays or Sundays either? So expanded hours mean they can carry work over into the weekends as needed, I guess. Would you like to feel the vibrations of side dumpers going up and down your road, or like Patty Ann's house when it shakes especially large dumper loads? Bet the RVs will also vibrate too as that industry moves down that hill. Do you want to smell the industrial equipment diesel exhaust or feel the grit in your eyes or nose when you go out on your own property? These are all considered nuisances, so vote yes if you want to ignore nuisance laws. There are no buffers, there are no setbacks, the stockpiles and equipment go right up to the fence line. It was nice self-promotional video, but I live in a reality of having a 9-year industrial facility pushed onto our homes, and I mean, would you want or expect the city to put that by you if industrial isn't on the map? Vote yes if you don't care about our property values. I stood here in 2016, 2018, 2025, and today, and over stated the obvious, yet somehow going against this is still being pushed for expansion today. 10 years through 2035 doesn't seem like the word limited. I also did bring the City of Blair zoning regulations that are highlighted, so they're easier to see if you want to review the ag exceptions in the CUP, and also the Nebraska Planning Handbook, 2nd edition, 2025. And some highlights if you'd like to look at that, and the state statutes. There was also at the Planning Commission, they said that the lighting was not facing toward the adjacent properties, but I did print off some photos of the nice bright lights that actually shine directly into the adjacent bedroom windows, and a lovely one that I see out my kitchen window if I look out at that industrial facility out my kitchen window. I know that Metzgers also have bright lights facing directly to their bedrooms. All right. If you want to look at if you can find industrial use in ag zoning, I can find it. The borough pits in it, but borough pits are not considered. Yeah, I've highlighted things so it's faster to look through. Does anybody want to see? You can see the pictures, right? If I just hold them up, right? And yeah, one day of being in an area is not the same as living by it 365. Thank you. How do I put this?
Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to enter into place on file information regarding the report presented by Christina Barta.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to place on file the information presented to us by Christina Barta. Please register your vote. We're going to go to the board this time. Okay. All members present voting aye. Motion passes. Any other comments from the public? In the back.
My name is Chad Meltner. We got that one? Okay. My name is Chad Meltner, address 2930 South 159. My last name is spelled Miltner.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. I guess I've got one question here. I mean, I've got an interest in some land here that I was looking to develop, but you know, you drive in, and I come from Elkhorn originally, okay? We had a rock crusher. It sat on Dodge Street for years. It was away from town, away from everybody, okay? But my question is, this has been going on for 9 years. Do we have all the permits? Has anyone ever verified? I mean, I just want to know that this city's looking out after everybody's interest. And I get that it's a good thing, but it might not be in the right place. So those are my comments. I don't know if we've done our research enough to make a vote tonight. You know, I mean, we want to make sure that everything's legal. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other comments from the public? Having none, I will close public hearing. Oh, was there somebody else?
I thought I saw something.
Nope. Did we have any comments? No? All right, thank you. Council, how would you like to proceed?
I'll make a motion to approve the non-conforming use limited extension application submitted by John R. Hatton as presented with the stipulations from the previous CUP and adding 400 hours of operation per year. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the non-conforming use limited extension application submitted by John Henry. Please register your vote. Is everything coming up? Okay. All council members present voting aye. Motion passes. Item number 6, I'll open the public hearing to consider conditional use permit application submitted by 8 Point Properties, Drew Carson, agent, 503 North 23rd Street in Blair, Nebraska. Section 12, Township 18 North, Range 11, east of the 6 p.m., Washington County, Nebraska, otherwise known as 743 Washington Street, for 30 years. Mr. Byerman.
Thank you very much. So next up, we have a conditional use permit by Drew Harson, excuse me, 8 Point Properties is the company that he owns. Contract construction offices and services located here on East Washington Street, east part of Washington Street. Zoning is ACH, and as part of ACH 80104 means that a contract construction office and services with all materials contained within the walls of the building is an exception, which means it does need a CUP. Planning Commission had a very good question. What's the difference between a contract construction office and a contractor's yard? We really don't know because we don't, in our books and definitions, talk about what a contract construction office is. So we've got to go by what it says in this, and that is simply what it is, office and services and, enclosed. Here's a picture of the current zoning. We have ACH on both sides and the back. Across the street, this is US 30. I believe that's Long's Tire. This is the mall down, or the Family Fair, Ace Hardware, Dollar General. Looking toward this direction here, you see the Ace Hardware, the original building, and the building he was working on. Mr. Harson did apply for a building permit to add on to this building. At the time, I told him he's probably going to need a CUP. Unfortunately, I did not follow up with that until later on as he's finishing construction. When I told him that he's definitely going to need a CUP for this, even though he started, he went, did the proper paperwork, and then we proceeded from there. Shows the fencing here. This is the right-of-way in front. They've been doing work on construction on the contract, on the concrete. Again, we can see the back sides of Ace Hardware there. This, in location of downtown, shows where the location is here. First Street down to 10th Street and everything, bypass on this area there. Another view from up above, here is his property in here. Everybody kind of shares the front drive there. And the photo looking west on US 30. And again, here is his area here, Long is over there. With that, any questions for staff on this?
Will that still be accessible, that front, from coming like from Hardware Hank there?
Let me get into, I'm trying to see where the actual property line ends. As we zoom in here, Aaron, can you get to the GIS real quick? I mean, if it's his property, if the frontage is his property, it's up to him to do what he wants. If it's right of way, then of course, it's open to everybody. So this right here is probably, if you click on that area, that's either state or city right away, that area right there, I believe. Show. Unknown, so yeah. So this area out in front here is all right away, either city or state.
Any other questions for staff? Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments from the public? Applicant?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Drew Harson, Harsin, 503 North 23rd Street. So I purchased the property you guys see there in April of '25. It was a deteriorating building to begin with and has since gained a new life. Immediately began to clean up the property, and once I had a plan put together, I applied for my building permits, 3 of them. One for the fence, one to remodel the existing building, and one to add on. All permits were approved and work began. Received a phone call from Byerman shortly thereafter, to which he mentioned the idea of filing for a conditional use permit. After explaining my plans for the building in that space, he told me that I quote, "What I'm doing is legal, but it would be more legal if I filed for a conditional use permit." In my head, if what I'm doing is legal, I'm not gonna jump through hoops to be more legal. So I continued to work on the property, and in early December of '25, passed all my inspections and have since been signed off on. On December 9th, after my final inspections, received an email from Byerman telling me that I was going to be required to file for a CUP due to my recent expansions and improvements, which were all permitted. I've been told over the phone that when this started, it was legal. It isn't something I've been ignoring, as if the city's been making multiple attempts to contact me. When I asked Jeff if he had any proof of a phone call, email, or letter reaching out to me in the last 8 months stating this was necessary, the answer was of course no. So in my opinion, this was handled very poorly from start to finish. As a young business owner here in town, it's frustrating that I take an eyesore of a property and turn it around all along believing I was following the rules. Once final inspections have been completed and I'm waiting on my official occupancy, the city could then decide I need a CUP. It's as if you change the rules of a football game late in the fourth quarter. Had I known from the start that a CUP was absolutely mandatory, I would have filed one and waited to see if it was approved prior to investing this much time and money. If I chose not to file for a CUP, I was told that my official occupancy will be withheld. And it's hard to see how that can be the case if I've checked all the boxes up until this point. So I met with Jeff, then again with Jeff and Phil, and expressed my frustrations. When asked what my options are, it didn't appear that I had any other than to pay the conditional use fee and leave my investment and livelihood up to a vote, which is why I'm here tonight. Appreciate your guys' time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any other comments from the public? Any comments in writing? Thank you. I will close public hearing.
I'll make a motion to approve the conditional use permit application submitted by 8 Point Properties, Drew Larson, as presented for 30 years. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the conditional use permit. Please register your vote. All council members present voting aye. Motion passes. Item number 7, open a public hearing to consider a conditional use permit application submitted by Rain or Shine Play Space LLC, Sandra Reese, agent, 2232 Washington Street, Blair, Nebraska, for a recreational family play space in a separate wing of the Little Blossoms Child Care on Lot 88 Deerfield Edition, in addition to the City of Blair, Washington County, Nebraska, 1221 Deerfield Boulevard for 25 years. Mr. Byerman.
Thank you. Next request for conditional use permit is in the Deerfield area of our city. Up in the northern part of the city. Rain or Shine Play Space LLC is the applicant for the CUP. This is a separate entity than the current daycare that's on the next part of the building. Zoning is RMH, multifamily residential high density. An exception for this is required because it is a, as you can read here, public or quasi-use of an educational, recreational, religious type. Again, this is a separate entity than the Little Blossoms Child Care and Preschool. Let's go back to the CUP application. Child Center Preschool. Right here is the property that is surrounded by both by RML, RMH on this side, and RM. There's quite a bit of zoning in that area. The Little Blossoms Preschool, which is right here, does have a CUP for what they do. Again, because this is a new entity and a separate thing with recreational play space, as they call it, they will need also a CUP for this. This gives a little bit of diagram of what they're going to have. This part of the building remains daycare. They will be taking over this area here with the entrance. We have an overview look here. They'll be in this wing. We've got approximately 40 different parking spaces and offloading in the area, which is enough for the building as it was before when it was daycare. This is supplied by the applicant. This kind of shows you what they want to put inside there. I believe she is here tonight, so she can ask more questions about really what they want to do and get into more of that area. Planning Commission did recommend approval at 8-0. Any questions for staff on this?
Thank you. Would the applicant like to come forward?
Hello, I'm Cassie Rice, REISZ, address 280 Riverview Drive, Blair, Nebraska. Okay, I am looking to launch a play space, especially during these dreary weather days that we've had lately, or the hot summer days that we have. It would be fantastic to have a place that we can take families. I also want to encompass not only little children on another side, there's also a preteen to adult space where there will be a golf simulator, air hockey, arcade games. So it's kind of going to cross all ages. And I am looking to do that for my own family, but also a lot of the families that I serve in this community would be interested in it. And I think that's all I have right now. I have 6, they were previously classrooms, 6 spaces that I can use. I will also have a birthday party room or an event room where people can use that, and that is a hot commodity that's searched for in this community that we have limited availability for.
Any questions for the applicant?
So is this something you could just, we planned a picnic with the grandkids that day and it's raining, so we just hop in the car and come over and just be able to walk in and utilize it?
I love that question. I am working on getting a website launched for booking sessions, but we will also take walk-ins if we are available with how large the space is as well. If you're just looking to use the village, the play village versus the play structures, you can just book for that, and that will help open up more space through the building too for more people to come through. And it will also help me control the parking spaces to make sure I'm not exceeding those parking spaces that are available, especially on those weekends.
Is this designed to be a supervised or unsupervised, like drop your kids off, or you go there with your kids? Okay.
I am looking for it to be a family-focused space, and for that purpose, it will be, you have to attend your children, and that's where those bookings will include a parent authorization form where they know that they are responsible for their children when they're there.
Would that also include the intended teen spaces?
That's a really good question. I know that has come up for Skinny Bones and the YMCA and things like that. I have not thought that through thoroughly, but that will definitely be a point that I have fully researched.
Any questions for the applicant? Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments from the public? Do you have any comments in writing? Thank you. I'll close the public hearing. Will the council like to proceed?
I'll make a motion to approve conditional use permit application submitted by Rain or Shine Play Space LLC, Sandra Rice, as presented for 5 years.
Second?
We have a motion, a second, to approve the conditional use permit for Rain and Shine Play Space. Please register your vote. All council members present voting aye. Motion passes. Item number 8, I'll open a public hearing to consider a rezone application submitted by Easter Seals, Nebraska, Donald O. Hine, agent, 12565 West Center Road, Omaha, Nebraska, for a PUD 1, general PUD, district overlay located on tax lot 80, Transformation Hill addition, on addition to the city of Blair, and tax lot 208 and tax lot 209 in section 10, township 18 north, range 11 east of the 6 p.m., all in Washington County, Nebraska. Mr. Byron.
Thank you. This will be your last zoning issue for action for tonight. And it is the PUD, which is the planned unit development, which is basically the same as the rezone, but it's overlay that will be placed upon the 3 different lots there. This is on the western edge of the city of Blair, off north of 91. Currently, the zoning is RL, low density residential, and RM, residential medium density. This PUD also takes overlay of a section of Transformation Hill. There's currently a PUD right now, planned unit development on Transformation Hill. This one is being put in place to cover the 2 lower losses not included, plus the lot on top of that. This one would take precedence probably over the earlier one. Really not a lot of difference in the earlier PUD from the Transformation Hill as far as a lot of different parking and such. It's just that the earlier PUD did not cover the two tax lots below Transformation Hill. I'll show you that in a little bit. This is the overlay will allow development of a traditional summer camp, and I believe Mr. Heine is here to explain more of what that is later. Experience for the people with disabilities, and also serve, as you read right there, as a area that can be used for maybe some corporate or social purposes if needed. We have addressed all the different parking issues through the matrix of actual drivers versus campers, and I have a copy of that too. When we look at a building, like a large building, the parking is per square foot or number of users and stuff like this. Easter Seals is kind of unique because they're going to have a lot of kids there, but none of them are going to be drivers. They're going to be taken by bus or taking the camp earlier on. Drive will mainly come from maybe visitors or the camp staffers. Planning Commission did recommend approval 8-0 for this. So you can see what we're talking about. Right now, this is the top tax lot 80, which is RM. And down here we have RL. This is the Easter Seals campuses. They have bought the properties now. It's a little bit better view of that. We have the downtown, or excuse me, the houses over on this area. There's the old track right there. This is the old data campus. This is their plan. Kind of got to look sideways a little bit. This would be the north of here. Of course, here's the what we call, I guess we'll be looking that way. This is Highway 91 right this off that area. This is part of the old dorms for the Dana campus. So we get a little better areas that break this up. Okay, so I've broken that up and we have two different north halves here. Bottom half, Highway 91, this will be the entrance to the Easter Seals with the PUD. This is the horse barn, we get into parking, different buildings, camper buildings, and the lake here. As we get to the upper half of what we showed you the plat before, we see a private road onto the old Dana campus here. They have plans for this area up here with the hills, but again, we'll have parking from there. All roads within this PUD, within this area will be private, but there will be access. I believe they plan on having possibly a gate and different accesses for emergency responders and different equipment. This is the long, big matrix that we talked about before. Again, we talked about the Grand Hall, and as they put down there, functional occupancy 350. Really, when it comes down to campers, it's a lot less than that. We've looked over the matrix. It makes sense. It works. But it has to be like this PUD's planned unit development, because we don't want to change all of our parking rules, because that would have to be changed for the entire city. The nice advantage of the PUD, the planned unit development, is this overlay encompasses only Easter Seals and only with the boundaries that were shown before. Something here, nope. And this is a view of the lot looking east on 91. This is the curved railroad tracks here. This is the start of their property there, which at one time was cornfield. We do have a flyby link right here. Do you want to go to that, or do you want to wait for you?
I think that's the camera. That's the camera. You don't want that.
We'll go with this. Okay. This shows an overview, and at this point, I'm going to stop for questions for the staff before I turn over to the applicant.
What age group are they looking at housing there during summer camps and stuff?
I will let Mr. Heine answer that question. He has a better idea of.
Any questions from council as far as the PUD and what it does? We don't see them all that often, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Tim Mettenbrink. That's Mettenbrink. My address is 2306 South 105th Street in Omaha, Nebraska. I'm a strategic advisor with the Lynn Company, and I've been engaged with Easter Seals for about the last 5 years in their planning for acquisition acquisition and development of the camp. I want to take just a moment and thank all the staff that is here tonight. They've engaged with us over the years, tons of meetings, walked around the bramble out there with us and helped make some decisions. Much appreciated, guys. Also, back in November, we had a neighbor meeting. We drew a boundary significantly larger than the one that is applied for the public hearing. I think we invited 78 families or owners. We had a very substantial turnout, and frankly, there were no negative comments. There were questions, obviously. And then we've subsequently engaged with the neighboring properties, particularly on Krejci Drive and to the west along Highway 91 regarding trees, fence, those kind of things, and then also the access off of Highway 91, which we'll share with the Dunnings along the west. So with that, I'll tell you just really quickly, I'm going to try to respect your agenda here tonight and the time. Easter Seals is about a 100-year-old organization. The Nebraska organization is an affiliate of the National Easter Seals program. Their entire mission is based on assisting people with disabilities. There is no age restriction on any of that in terms of the people that they serve. Camp became a big part of the Easter Seals program nationally back in the 30s. And actually, Easter Seals Nebraska had a camp out by Milford for quite a while. Burlington Northern had a derailment, and they contaminated the property, and so they were unable to use it. They've been nomads ever since. And their clientele for their camps are people with no limit on their abilities, which means it's a highly disabled environment. Physically, some mental disabilities, some health disabilities. This particular camp is planned for 100 kids, adults in wheelchairs. So you can imagine, the kind of environment we're dealing with here. The camper ratio to staff and counselors is 1 to 1. It's a highly intense environment in that regard. But for many of those people, it's their only chance to get away during the year. And to the question of age, there's a gentleman, I think 2 years ago, that attended his 50th camp. He was 80-some years old. And said they don't draw a line on that one. And we're proud of that. Additionally, they are involved with an organization called Agri-Ability. And it's a function of a consortium between the University of Nebraska Extension Office, Madonna Rehab in Lincoln, Nebraska, and Easter Seals. And its specific focus is to help farmers and ranchers who through health or accident have become disabled in some way, shape, or form. They currently have no home. They tend to run this just sort of ad hoc as the need arises. They're going to anchor that place here. We're going to build a facility that can house the kind of equipment that they might need to learn how to, for instance, get up on a tractor, get in the combine. It's got adaptable stuff to it. The manufacturing community and the people who make the adaptable stuff are the ones who provide that equipment, but all the training, all the counseling, all of that will happen through Easter Seals and their partners. In addition, there are in excess of 100 organizations around the state of Nebraska who specifically handle, a form of disability, be it a cancer group or a diabetes group or, you name it, and there's a group. And they all want to camp. But so many times, camps, particularly the old ones, just are not accessible. And don't have the health provisions, and they just don't have the funding. So 4 years ago, Easter Seals Nebraska purchased 64 acres of the former Dana College campus. And we've been planning this thing for quite some time. And we finally have enough has coalesced around this to say this is the plan and this is what we'd like to do. So, Christine, thanks, Jeff. So just a really quick walkthrough on the site. North, as Jeff says up here, there's a pretty significant hill in this location. This, where the former practice field is fairly flat, and then this is a really significant and heavily wooded slope that comes down to an area that was cropped most recently. There's a fairly significant drainage that comes off of Blackout Nyhart Park, runs right through the property, a lot of trees, really wonderful environment. It
comes through and eventually dumps into Cobble Creek, which is in this wooded area right down here. On the south end, as Jeff mentioned, we're going to access off of Highway 91. So the camper experience will be to come in here. Parking is centralized at this location. Dining, entry hall, staff offices, reverse location there. You get a lot of beds with these people, and they control that. Rec hall, maybe a lazy river type of thing. This is the agribility building. It's a fairly large building, but it's just because of the equipment that they hope to house in there. And then this, as he said, is a horse barn. Cabins then are going to be located around this drainage way just because the significant trees on this property are right here. And we want to really capture that, have a great back door out of those facilities. Up the hill on the top, if you access off of Dana Drive, you'll have parking, another small hall, and another set of cabins up above that are maybe slightly less accessible. Some of our groups don't need, 100 wheelchair kids. So that's it. The camp runs typically all summer long. We'll have partners that will come in and be part of that along the way. So as we said, underlying zoning is RLRM, and zoning is meant to sort of talk about use, development standards, and parking. And in our case, the uses, we wanted to identify them. So we went beyond the charitable organization uses, and we actually listed everything we intend to do on the site. So it's a very clear picture about what's going to happen up here. The underlying development standards, we conform to everything in that list, except for asking for one height exception for the agribility building. And the other except is parking. As you can imagine, these buildings, when somebody adds them all up, it's almost 2,000 cars to be required on the site. We think the functional need is about 200. We've got staff housing that we want to take care of. We've got some use up on the hill that may take place from down the hills for the use, and then drop off and that type of thing. And then the agribility people during the week. These are typically week-long camps. So there's a drop-off Saturday, Sunday, and there's a pickup on Friday. And because of their camper profile, they stage pickup and drop-off because it takes a long time to check these kids in and check them back out. So it's not like everybody's there all at once. So I think with that, we have just to give you a little image of what we intend to do here, give you a little 3D view of this. We're going to run that quick fly through. We've edited this down, so hopefully it's short. This is entering on the south. And the horse barn and the agribility building. This would be the rec building, main dining hall check-in. All the south parking is here. This is the drainage way, comes in from Nyhart. I'm going to do this while it's flying. We're going to build a small lake that is partially being funded by the NRD to become sediment and an outlet control basin to maybe help stop the scour in Cobble Creek. And so we'll take all of our water, all of our delta from the runoff, all of Nyhart's water, and we'll clean it up, slow it down before it gets Cobble Creek. These are cabins. This is going up the hill now. The practice field's up above. Looking due north.
also say we're working in close cooperation with Youth and Family Services, who now owns the Dana campus. In fact, Chris was in my office today, and we were going through some details on things. Great working relationship, and we're really excited about some of the collaborative things we're going to be able to do together to utilize his facilities as well as ours. So with that, what I will say is the CEO of Eastern Sales got called out on an international visit for a venture that they're into. And so I'm all you got tonight, so thank you.
Question.
Yes, sir.
So I know it's been discussed, the road to go from 91 up to college or wherever. And I understand why Easter Seals doesn't want it. It's for safety reasons, obviously. But I still don't understand why we couldn't run parallel a road where our emergency vehicles could get around down to 91 or up from 91, because a lot of times the railroads are blocking 91. And we can't get emergency vehicles around until you take gravel roads. I just don't understand why we can't make a parallel road and put a fence along the one side, be on the west side of your road, to keep any kids from, coming over to the other road. That's my only struggle with it. I love everything you guys are doing and everything about the project. It'd just be really nice to have that road there.
Any questions for the applicant?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any comment from the public?
My name is Jake Loftus, LOFTIS, 2129 Park Street, Blair. Yeah, I did have a couple comments. I know this is about land use, and I love the mission of Easter Seals. But I think as stewards of the land and of the use of the land that we have in the city, we have to ask, is this what is highest and best use for land? And so my concern is that this doesn't meaningfully fit what the comprehensive plans for both the city and the parks lay out. And I do have questions about what does the city actually, how is the city as an entity, as a municipal corporation benefiting from this land use, from this specific land use. So my concerns are also limited access to roads going around the railroad tracks. I know that was something the city brought up when this came before the council like 2 years ago, something like that. And it doesn't really look like it's there. And they're going to be private roads. So my question is, if the land use was left as it is currently, which is residential, then those roads would connect. That would give us exactly what we're asking for. There's a way around 91 when the trains block it. There was one blocking it just a couple weeks ago. So that's a concern of mine. This land borders like a high-value park. The comprehensive plan for the whole county lists only three recreational facilities in the county. Soda Bend, which is annoyingly on the other side of the river, Boyer Chutes, and Black Elk National Park. And this borders a really high value asset to the city and to the county. Which brings me to the next point. This land use won't be producing value in the form of property taxes, at least not much, on a very limited basis, as it's a nonprofit. There may be some that they can collect from things that they rent out. That may allow some property taxes, I think, but I'm not a tax expert, but I know they won't have to pay much in property taxes. Around a high-value park where I think people would want to live, I would love to live with that as my backyard. And the other thing that wasn't brought up, but is in the comprehensive plan, is trail access. And this doesn't show any trail access. I did read in the comments that there was a possibility of allowing it to go around the south side, which I just wanted to bring up, that'll basically double the distance. I just got on GIS and measured it, and the plan where we already have an easement is about 2,000 feet, which the estimation, that's a $200,000 line trail. This would make it about 4,000 feet. And we'd have to go around the creek bank, which is going to involve stabilizing that, added costs, or you have to build a bridge to go around the south side. Additionally, probably 10 different landowners, you'd have to get easements from about 10 different people to go around on the south if you're going to not cross that creek. Another thing this doesn't really comply with is it provides no housing. And housing is one of the things that in our comprehensive plan, in a lot of the things that we talk about, is that we need housing. This is land that I think would be better used as housing. Leaving it as zoned as residential housing, I think is a better use, mainly because the opportunity costs. Once this is built there, if we pull up a map, you can see that this is the next step of developable land moving west. If you look at how the watersheds flow, this is right where we need to go for easily developable land, where we don't have to pay to pump sewage through pipes. This is the next step to move west out of town, and this will be sitting right there. So those are my takes on why I think that this would be better as residential, giving us road access, trail access to the park, and tax revenue. Thank you.
Any other comments from the public?
My name's Monty Allen. I live, could we get a map up again? I live on Krejci Drive. I'm one of I border this property.
Mr. Allen, would you spell your last name and state your address?
Monty Allen, A-L-L-E-N,
Thank you.
2872 Krejci Boulevard.
Thank you.
I'm the last house right there. So my question is, this map doesn't show it. The map that is on your website,
This is the map on the website.
shows the buildings and everything involved. My biggest concern right now is the turnaround, which shows it as that rectangle, which is obviously not how people turn around. It has it bulging out, and there's big cottonwood trees that are, I think, have been asked to be torn down to accommodate snowplows.
Are you talking about this, around this map here?
Yes, yes. Thompson. That was helpful to find this on the website. This guy knows me pretty well. I'm kind of nosy when I see him out there. And I've gone out there and walked, to see where things are, because obviously I'm concerned. So now we have this big kind of bulb of a turnaround, and I think the city asked them to cut down. There's about 4 big cottonwoods right now, which I have a love-hate relationship. If you've lived near a cottonwood tree, you know what I mean. But when you look at, it's a little off scale maybe, well, it's not. I'm concerned about, A, those trees are besides being really old, big trees, help block noise. And that's my concern. One of them is there's the lake. Kids make a lot of noise when they play in the water. Is there going to be enough trees that get replanted? What's the city's design, or how do I want to say it? What's going to be the surface of that turnaround? Right now it's broken asphalt and dirt and rocks and whatever the kids drag up. Because this little spot, let me walk over here.
There's a clicker there if you want to use the pointer.
Okay.
The very top button is a laser pointer.
I'm a pretty low-tech guy here.
There you go.
Here.
Good job.
We kind of take care of that property right now, because the old Krejci, here, came through here, still does. Now there's a gate across here, the cable. But this has always just been weeds. We mow it about every 2 to 3 weeks because the weeds get so bad. I want to know what's going to happen here. Is the city going to take care of that? Or am I, or Easter Seals? It's on the other side of the fence from Easter Seals. So I'm just kind of curious of how that's going to shake out and what the surface of that turnaround will be. And then I was told there was going to be no access, but I think, is that where it says? Emergency vehicle access only right there.
It's for that fire department.
What's that?
Fire department.
Okay, so is that going to be there? Emergency access?
Well, it's an access for the fire department to get onto the property when they have a call on the property.
Right.
It's not designed to be a through access for first responders.
Okay, I was told at one point there was going to be no access there, but that's fine. I understand that, you might have to move that fire hydrant, I don't know. But because the lake is so close right there and kids make a lot of racket, I'm hoping that in the scope of things that noise has been thought of, because we're going to be impacted by it pretty heavily. Even though it's just a summer camp, but when you're retired, you're in your house a little more than working. But that's kind of what my concerns are, is what's going to happen, are those trees coming down, and who's going to take care of that? Because once you disturb soil, weeds grow. And obviously it was a new subdivision. The weeds have grown. Like I say, we mow it. The area behind Krejci, there's the old trail that's still there. They left about 10 or 15 feet that I think Angel Share owns between the trail and our back property lines. And I don't know who's supposed to take care of that. One of my neighbors gets his riding mower and tackles it every week, and we do our edge, but just kind of concerned that what's going to happen with areas like that. That's about it. Do you have anything else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So are you staff able to answer a couple of those questions? What's going to happen with that turnaround and then that little piece of property right next to his house?
Phil Green, City Administrator. I'll explain my outfit later on. But just to answer this question here, I think the way it's designed right now is most of that's going to be on Easter Seals property. My understanding, Tim, is that you're going to have a fence around the cul-de-sac. So it's really there for a turnaround for people that would happen to be on that street, snowplow equipments and things like that. It would be a standard turnaround cul-de-sac that we would require to have constructed there. So it'd be hard surfaced, either concrete or asphalt. I think their plan was to have a fence along there so that you couldn't drive through, other than again those emergency vehicles.
Would that include the little?
So anything else that would be on their property would be maintained by them. And just like with any property, especially when you're nearby residential houses, we'd expect it to, if it's turf, to continue to be mowed, to be well maintained. If they decided to put bushes there or trees or something like that, that could be a decision that they would make. in conjunction with, some of the neighbors maybe.
Maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea to plant a few trees.
More trees, the better.
Yeah.
Less to mow, so.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public?
Hi, my name's Sean Cooper, Cooper, live at 2300 College Drive. I have one question. Gentleman said that this was a summer camp and it runs all summer long. What's it gonna be for the other 9 months out of the year?
I can answer that. The current camp runs summer, but the future camp wants to take advantage of this all year round. And so that's where the affiliates come in, those kind of people that can maybe use it off time. And then the third category, as you noted in our narrative, of users on this site would be people who share a mission with Easter Seals, people who have a business or philanthropic relationship with Easter Seals, and also have the opportunity to use that. And as you might imagine, Easter Seals has a very broad business and philanthropic relationship within the community. Those people would be compelled to come and do a business meeting on the upper camp at the hall. Come out here and do an overnight thing with the recreation exhibits that are out there. And continue to use that on off times. You can't use strictly the summer camp. But the intention is to use it as much as possible. Best can.
I did have one other question. You said that there were no age limits on the people that were there. How long will they be staying there?
It's typically the 1 week.
1 week?
Yeah, typically a week.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other comments from the public? But if we have any comments in writing, I will close the public hearing. Discussion, council?
How soon are you looking at starting construction or dirt work on this? I mean, I know the lake's gotta be dug out, things need to be landscaped, but how soon are you looking at starting on something?
We intend to grade the sediment basin this year. The NRD had some stipulations on how the cash was spent, so we've got a bit of a timeline. So we're gonna go in and do that major excavation this spring. And then we're gonna build building pads, because we've got to surcharge this ground. So we're gonna use the excavation to do that. So we're gonna clean up quite a bit of that site this winter as well. As far as the full camp, it's strictly dependent on fundraising. As you might imagine, this is a fairly significant investment. Although there are a lot of partners aggregating around this thing now, and I believe a lead gift, a major piece, is coming in the next half year or so, which would kick us off in design, where a lot of these little details would be resolved through that process. This is very conceptual.
Employee plans, people that are trained for Easter sales interaction with campers from Omaha, or anybody local employment?
Yeah, the largest part of the camper profile is young females, typically college, and they're probably in a degree program that is health related, psychology, PT, nursing, whatever it is. There's a broad segment of the educational community that can value themselves from being around this camp. And Dr. Patrick had a lunch with Dr. Gold at the university, who pledged full-on support for the learning community at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln to get all of those components involved as part of this, because it's a learning environment. You've got everything that shows up at this camp. I hope it's soon.
Thank you.
How would council like to proceed?
I'll introduce ordinance number 2660.
An ordinance amending the official zoning map of the city of Blair by establishing an overlay district under section 103 PUD plan unit development district of the city of Blair zoning regulation to establish the land use standards that may be permitted
Range 11 east to 16 along Washington County, Nebraska, repealing all ordinance parts of the conflict herewith, providing such ordinance shall be in full force effect and published in pamphlet form.
I move the statutory rule regarding reading on 3 different days be suspended for consideration of said ordinance.
Second. Question.
The question for the council is, shall the statutory rule requiring reading on 3 different days be suspended? Please register your vote. Council members present voting aye, Banner, Clark, Fletcher, Long, Paulson, Wolf, and Willis. Councilmember Highfield voting nay.
An ordinance amending the official zoning map for the city of Blair by establishing an overlay district under section 1003, CBD Plan Unit Development District, the city of Blair zoning regulations to establish land use standards that will be permitted on tax lot 80 transformation of Hill addition, in addition to the city of Blair and tax lot 208, tax lot 209, section 10, township of Eastern North, and other districts of PM, all in Washington County, Nebraska, repealing all ordinance parts of conflict herewith, providing legislation in full force and effect and published in pamphlet form.
I move final passage of ordinance 2660.
Second. Question.
Question now before the council is, shall ordinance number 2660 be passed and adopted? Please register your vote.
Council members present voting aye, Banner, Clark, Fletcher, Long, Paulson, Wolf, and Willis. Councilmember Hatfield voting nay.
I declare ordinance number 2660 duly adopted. Item number 9, consider resolution 2026-7 approving a Gateway to the West Days parade held from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on June 6, 2026, and request permission from the NDOR to close Highway 30 for this event. Ms. Ferguson? Ford?
Yeah, sorry, Melanie Katie, K-A-P-I-Z, 120 Squires Place in Blair. We would just like to move the parade up to 11 instead of 1. It'll be a lot cooler, and then that also allows the fire department time, if they want to do their own fundraiser, they can get their people together and do one as well. And on the next item, you don't have any changes to the street closures that we've had in the past.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any comments from the public? Having none,
I'll introduce resolution number 2026-7.
Resolution number 2026-7 was introduced by Councilmember Willis, approving the Gateway to the West Days Parade held from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on June 6, 2026, and request permission from NDOR to close Highway 30 for this event.
Make a motion to adopt resolution 2026-7 as presented.
Second.
we have a motion and a second to adopt resolution 2026-7. Please register your vote.
All council members present voting aye.
Motion passes. Item number 10, consider resolution 2026-8 approving street closures for the carnival and use of Lincoln Street for a car show during Gateway to the West Days held from June 4th through June 7th, 2026. And as Ms. Kading already indicated, there are no changes from this from last year.
I'll introduce resolution number 2026-8.
Resolution number 2026-8 was introduced by Councilmember Willis, approving street closures for the carnival and use of Lincoln Street for a car show during Gateway to the West Days held from June 4th through June 7th, 2026.
Make a motion to adopt resolution number 2026-8 as presented. Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution 2026-8 as presented. Please register your vote.
All council members present voting aye.
Motion passes. Item number 11, we have a presentation of current projects at the Blair Executive Airport. Mr. Green.
Thank you, Mayor. Phil Green, City Administrator. I also have the privilege of being the airport manager, and so did want to do kind of an update for you. Before we get started, I just publicly want to thank Councilman Fletcher for the privilege and honor of having lost the bet between Nebraska and Iowa, which is why I'm wearing this today. CJ, enjoy it. There's always next year. Just wanted to do a quick little overview. There has been a lot of things happening at the airport over the last several years. Lots of great back-end work has been done over the last decade or two to get us to this point. And you're going to see a lot of activity starting. So I wanted to give like I said, just kind of a quick overview. Chairman Dave Johnson's not able to be here tonight, but our new vice chairman, Marty Rump, is here tonight. So he may get up and make a few comments as well. One of the things he's especially been working on with us is kind of changing some of the finance models that we're going forward with as far as the land leases. You'll see when we talk about some of the executive hangars and how important that's going to be for these new hangar locations, and kind of put together a model where they would not only have a monthly lease or an annual lease payment that they make, but there's also an upfront fee that would go along with that, and that upfront fee ends up being very critical when it comes to the airport's share of all of these projects. As has been in the case for a long period of time, there's usually a 90%, 10% federal local share match on any of these grants, which means for every $1 million project that's going on, if it's federally funded, 900,000 of that's going to be paid by the feds, and only 100,000 has to come from local sources, which has really been good. The last several years, there's actually been a variety of 95.5 grants that have been available. We've taken full advantage of those. But let me kind of show you what's been happening at the airport.
What's BTA?
BTA is just the three-letter designation. It's the Blair Executive Airport, though, is the official name for it. I'm not sure what the T originally came for. They usually have three initials that go along with each of the airports. It's kind of like when you buy your tickets, OMA or DCA, something like that, so BTA. I'm sure somebody who loves acronyms in Washington, D.C. has a reason why what they're doing. So we're going to be talking about two different locations. I'm going to use the terms north and south. It's not necessarily north and south just because of how it lays geographically out there. But as you're coming, from the Omaha metro area heading up to Blair, coming across this direction, this is generally more on the south side. So this is on the corporate hangar. And I'm going to zoom in on these little areas because you can't really see, but over the last decade and a half, there's been a variety of small little projects that have continued to move forward, and it's kind of like the boulder running down the hill. A lot of it has picked up steam, picked up great support from the Nebraska Department of Transportation Aeronautics Division. They're very, very supportive of what's going on in Blair and have helped us out a lot. And so there's a variety of projects here I'll zoom in on, talk a little bit about, and then show you kind of what's currently going on the main projects. And why is this thing just not want to be working? The battery's maybe going bad. All right, move it forward, Aaron, if you would. All right. Oh, the back one. All right. So you'll notice here that what's called phase 1, 2, and 3 have all occurred in about 3-year increments going back to 2017, 2020, and 2023. And all of them were just these little extended segments of the taxiway that is intended, obviously, for a plane to be able to go from one location to the other. You've got to have a taxiway for it to come once it gets out of the hangar. Some of the other concrete that's immediately in front of these hangars is the responsibility of the person who buys the hangar or owns the hangar, constructs the hangar. Some of these hangars are owned by the airport authority. Most of them are owned by Skyworks, or some of them are privately owned, and all of that's worked out in the various land leases that we have. But anyway, those were all done in kind of 3-year increments. So that took us through phase 3, phase 4, which was done back just last year in 2025, included some grading, storm sewer, tree removal, and a sanitary phase, getting ready for additional hangars. So there's currently 7 corporate hangars that are out there. You've probably noticed maybe some of the grading that's been taking place. There's now spots for an additional 12 hangars that could potentially be located out there. And so we were fortunate to work with the state and get a state grant for this. So 90% came from the state, 10% only was local. And again, this included the grading that you've seen done, plus there's a septic system, new septic system that's being installed in this particular, well, this is storm drainage, and then the new septic system is this little dash line here with the SS, and then the septic leach field that's going to be located over here. Just because of some delays, because of how wet it was last summer, they weren't able to install the septic system yet. That'll be done next spring, but all the grading has been done, and we're waiting just for that septic system to be put in, and then to see if sufficient grass cover comes up. So Again, all that work being done, it was a little over $1 million project, and about 109,000 were local funds for that particular phase. We were in the process of doing this phase when the annual funding roll around came again. And again, the state has been very, very supportive of the activities that we've done. And so what we took to them, Aaron, go forward if you would please, sorry. A couple aerial photos just to show you some of the grading that's going on. Next one, Aaron, another view from kind of the farther south side, looking back a little bit towards the north. So all of that grading project has been done now. Going forward again, one more. So we submitted to the state what's now called Phase 5. And Phase 5 and 6 were extensions again of taxi lanes. And these taxi lanes then would allow access to some new hangars that would be in the area that the grading is being done. I will tell you that at least from my limited perspective, when we went and requested this to the Department of the Division of Aeronautics, I was hoping that maybe they would be interested in partially funding one of the phases. They fully funded both of them for us, fully from the standpoint of the 90%. So very, very exciting to see that possibility before us. So what they're looking at doing is, since the grading's already done, it would be this piece in kind of in the peach here and then in the blue. But this begins to open up, obviously with the blue here, access to these 4 hangar structures. And so this red outline kind of shows you the area that could now be improved because of this support. Going on to the next page, shows us what the costs are. Yeah, every once in a while it works, so just be prepared to help out. But this is the engineer's cost estimate. We have not gone out for bid for this yet, but this has been approved as far as a funding project from the state. And their estimate of both Phase 5 and Phase 6, which is the 2 different taxi lane areas there, total cost of about $820,000. Again, 90% of that covered by the state, and so we're looking at just $82,000. But that $82,000 is divided out between 6 to 8 different hangars. And so back to that, what that land lease is able to do for us. By charging an upfront fee, it's able to cover 100% of our 10% local match. And so therefore, it really frees up the airport authority to be moving forward as quickly as what the market wants to do. We've got individuals from Skyworks here tonight. They might want to talk a little bit even too, just about the kind of the interest that they're seeing in the market for some of this expansion. So all of this plays in, though, to the fact that the runway is also being expanded, and that is heightening the interest in the market area for the Blair Airport. Sorry, Aaron, on board. All right, this is part of the airport layout plan. There's a lot of details that are on these plans, but it just begins to show a little bit. Begins to show a little bit of the expansion of the runway. As soon as I get my clicker back, you can see kind of the gray right in the middle. That's the existing runway. It's a 4,200-foot runway by 100 feet wide. It's proposed to go to 5,500 feet, but by doing that, we had to relocate, sir? We had to relocate the county road. So this is current runway, current end of the runway. Here's where the extension's going to go. There's a parallel taxiway then that would go along with that for planes to be able to get off and taxi back. But this is the current location of the county road. There's an intersection here. And obviously the new runway runs almost right to where that county road is. Then you've got a safety zone that you have to plan for. So we're in the process, and I'll show you more of that route in a minute, about having to relocate again this county road to a new location so that this particular work can be done. One of the philosophies we've kind of had over the last several years is let's get as many things engineered as possible, ready to go forward. So if the money happens to be there, we can take advantage of moving forward as quickly as possible. And that's really worked out well for us because what originally was looked at as one project, which would be the relocation of the county road, and then a second complete project, which would be the extension of the airport runway, now both have been basically put together in one package. The feds are willing to fund all of that. And so we're prepared in just the next month or two to be going out for bid to try to find a contractor who will do all of the county road relocation and all the grading and then all the concrete work for the runway. This is an aerial view showing, again, this is the current county road location. This is the new location of the relocated county road. Because of this relocation, we also had to purchase some property. So just a few months ago, we purchased from the adjoining property owner these two little parcels here and enough for this new county road to go through. We've worked very closely with the county's county road department on what this design is, so it's designed as a regular county road. In fact, there's a 7-phase construction plan that's designed for all of this as they end up moving some dirt in several of these areas down in this direction, then constructing this, but still providing access both for the people that live nearby, one way or the other for this. We ended up having to acquire a few parcels here. You probably noticed the tree removal that was done last year. That was all part of this construction project. So over the next 2 years, and again, we're planning to go out for bid in just the next few months. Hopefully have a contractor in place by April, May of this year. Have them get started on the grading work. They'll concentrate first on this county road relocation and getting that ready to go. Probably try to get as much grading as it can be done this year. They may start doing some pavement for the parallel taxiway yet this fall, but then the bulk of the runway paving would probably be planned in 2027. So between the 2026 and 2027 construction years, we hope to get all that work done. Estimated right now, again, we haven't gone out for bid yet, but estimated at about $7 million between the two different fiscal years. And again, 90% of that would come from the feds, which means the airport authority is looking at bonding some of this, which they've done for the major projects. They did that when the runway was first constructed, and that would end up being probably a 20-year bond, something like that. The airport authority would use their revenues, which their primary revenue always is fuel sales. And we get a little piece of that fuel sales that are being done. But again, because all of this is falling into place at the same time, all of that construction work that needs to be done for those taxiways, which again is a state project, this is a federal project, we're hoping to, and we're doing it as an alternate in the bid, that whoever the general contractor is for all of this work, to then work with them to also pour the concrete for that phase 5 and 6 taxiways. And we're hoping to take advantage of all of that construction work to be done at a reasonably good cost. So I think that's all I had. I don't know why this thing is on the page tonight. Again, airport layout plan, it's hard to see any of the details that are on that, but I'll invite Vice Chairman Rump if he wants to come up and say a few words and talk anything about what he wants to talk about.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. Thanks, everybody. Marty Rump, RUMP, 1663 Washington Street, Blair. I've been on the Airport Authority for I think since about 2020, if I remember right. But so Phil did a good job explaining kind of current progress of a lot of projects out there. I thought maybe I'd just give you a little bit of background. Our Airport Authority meetings are public meetings, just like City Council meetings, so you're all welcome to come anytime. Same goes for the public, third Tuesday of every month. A little background on some of the cost share stuff that Phil was talking about, and also how the city participates. So as an independent taxing authority, the Airport Authority has kind of a limit of 3.5 cents per $100 evaluation. So it's a rather low taxing authority. Over the last 5 years, we've been pretty steady at keeping our tax levy for the airport at about 3 cents per $100 evaluation. Over 3.5 cents, we would have to come to the council for approval. And those tax funds are basically used, as Phil mentioned, to contribute toward the local share of some of these big projects, these big capital projects that take multiple years to finance. Anytime we're getting 90 cents on the dollar on a project, we look at it very seriously as an investment in the infrastructure for the whole city of Blair. Even if you're not using this airport personally, there's a lot of kind of hidden benefits that people may not know about. There was a study done by the State Department of Aeronautics way back in 2020 that estimated the economic impact of the Blair Airport at $5.7 million annually. And that was before a lot of this development, a lot of the new hangars, and a lot of the new investment. So a lot of that economic impact comes not just from operations at the airport, but from, ancillary activities from the construction crews that are out there working, even the guy snow plowing out there. They calculated it was equivalent to about 69 full-time positions is the impact of the airport. And it's also kind of a checklist item for companies, industries that would be looking to locate in Blair, just like a hospital would be, or a port, or a rail yard. Certain companies require access for their equipment, their planes, and this making some of these improvements at the airport puts us on that checklist for that sort of thing. So it's an investment not just for the people that have hangars out there. It's a kind of investment for everybody in the city of Blair. So I just wanted to kind of emphasize that. The federal aid that comes to these projects is directed from a fund called the Airport Improvement Fund. So it's coming from, that money basically is coming from the aviation industry itself. It's coming from a trust program that is funded through certain aviation-related fees and aviation fuel fees. So it's not really funded by like your income tax necessarily. It's funded kind of through the aviation industry itself. And that's why the competition for some of those dollars is pretty tough sometimes. And we really have to be prepared. As Phil mentioned, the city and our consultants and our board has done a good job of planning ahead on some of these multi-year projects to make sure everything is kind of going in the proper order, and we're communicating with Department of Aeronautics so that we're first in line for that funding. As one example, the state funding for some of that development, which is basically for private hangars, was really a surprise. That was kind of unallocated funding that was either redirected to Blair from other projects. We weren't expecting to see that much of a matching grant from the state for that. So that was a big win for Blair. And the relationship that our staff and our consultants have down there in Lincoln really helped that. So other than that, I was just going to mention real quick a few of the other items. We have these big items, multi-year projects that we're working on every meeting. But we also have a few other things we're doing out there. We've been doing recently a lot of maintenance on the existing community hangars and other infrastructure, like the lighting and taxi lanes, signage and joint ceiling, all sort of that boring stuff, but much needed, especially with a lot of the storm damage we've had recently. Airport's involved in basically development and implementation of an anti-icing project to make operations at the airport safer during winter conditions. As Phil mentioned, we're developing a new lease procedure and kind of enhancing our building standards to make sure all the new construction has a good solid foundation as far as how we approach the leases and the construction. And we're determining some appropriate adjustments for lease rates. When the airport was first moved to its location, the priority there was quick development that was as inexpensive as possible for people who were locating there. Now that there's so much value out there, we're trying to do more partnerships with the private owners to help fund some of the infrastructure that will support their buildings out there. So we're in the middle of doing that. And as we kind of mentioned all along, we're continually updating our capital improvement program so that we're a few years ahead on the planning and the design, so that we're ready if there is a pool of grant money available, that we have stuff ready to go. So there's been a lot of work out there. I appreciate everybody that's spending the time coordinating with the people in Lincoln and our contractors and everybody else. And if you have any questions for me, you can ask me now or just meet me up anytime. I'm a local guy, so you can just look me up. So, any questions from anybody?
Mr. Rubin, I don't know if you can answer this or not, but will any of this expansion have any impact on the glider groups that are currently out there?
Yeah, that's a good question. So one of our tenants is the Omaha Soaring Club, and they they rent several hangars, they do a lot of operations out there. They've been to a lot of our meetings, they've done some improvements on the property with the clubhouse and, redoing some building infrastructure. And we're trying to develop the expansion to allow continued operations. They operate on it's not technically a runway, but it's a grass field adjacent to the runway. And from the research we've done, that's the safest way for them to operate rather than to operate on the runway itself. And we're trying to make sure they have adequate space to continue those operations. We're working with our consultants on some of those issues. We'll continue to do that throughout the process. So.
Yeah, I might add too on that. What it looks like we're able to do is during the grading phases, that they're going to continue to be able to operate with no changes. We have warned them though that probably in 2027, during the times when the actual runway for the airport has to be shut down because of the pavement, the work that's going to be done, that they'll be shut down during those same times. But hopefully we'll be able to keep it to a short window and keep it to the same times when the airport's closed anyway.
And maybe just one quick addition on the runway extension. So there's been airplanes operating there this whole time. Why do we have a longer runway? So basically, this airport is currently designed around one type of aircraft, kind of the maximum aircraft that can operate there. There's several of those that are housed there. The current runway length only allows them to operate in ideal conditions. So sometimes in certain weather conditions, there's not enough runway for them to safely stop. They may not be able to have a full fuel load coming in and out. So with the development of some of these new hangars, the types of airplanes that are coming in, it's not 100% safe 100% of the time for them to operate on the 4,200-foot runway. So that is a major driver for that extension. All right, well, come by anytime. We'll gladly have you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And again, I did mention earlier that we've got a great partner out at the airport, which is our fixed base operator, they call them, an FBO, which is Skyworks. So Harrison, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add or talk about just the market that you're seeing for interest in the Blair Airport.
Sure. Harrison Helm, 17402 Island Circle in Bennington, Nebraska. I would say Phil and the board have been great partners with us as we continue to grow, and as the city has grown, we've gotten a ton of unsolicited and solicited interest in a number of these newer corporate hangars. Some of those which include private companies that are headquartered, have locations here in Blair, as well as a number of individuals, both public and private, who are based out of Epley currently. Given the Southwest and United and larger traffic there, they like the convenience of a quieter airport, but also the convenience of being able to hop on 680 and head down to Omaha or north of Blair or anywhere else. So we're excited about the growth, and we thank Phil and his team for the continued partnership. So any questions from you guys? Or?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 12, consider resolution 2026-09, approving the purchase of a wide format printer for access systems for the Blair Public Library from donated funds. Mr. White.
Good evening. This is a super exciting one. I'm talking about a printer for the library. This is something that Wendy and I have talked about for a while. Essentially, what we would like to do is to purchase a wide format printer. I have a picture of it on the PowerPoint. So the library did have a wide format printer at one point in time, a couple years ago. It had died, so we would like to replace it using donated funds. This printer would be used for patrons to be able to do things like banners, blueprints, things like that. It also has a scanner incorporated into it, and it is very similar to the previous model that we had at the library. So the staff is used to it. We
did do an informal bid. It is not the lowest bid. It's actually the highest bid. The Ricoh printers are a little bit more expensive, but just due to the existing relationship we have with Access Systems and Ricoh, and just our familiarity with this particular printer, it would be kind of an easy transition for the staff at the library to use. The bid does have a lease and a purchase price. We would like to purchase it. It would have a $60.78 per month service fee, and this printer would be able to print from 2 different kinds of media, has 2 different roll holders, and it comes with a lot of ink and some paper and the support from Access Systems. So, if there are any questions? Did I get everything, Wendy? Yeah. So,
Tom, all the different bids came with a monthly maintenance fee.
correct.
So even if you looked at those monthly maintenance fees and compared the overall cost, assuming those monthly maintenance fees, does this still end up being the most expensive or not?
They really all kind of level out. We're paying less in maintenance on this printer because it is a better printer. They would need to service it less. The other printers could have a higher monthly service fee, and over the course of the life of a printer like this, which is about 5 years, it all kind of equals out. So. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments from the public? Having none? Technology committee.
We did meet on this. The fact that it's donated funds is a nice change. Not costing, this, and the monthly fee, the low monthly fee is good, we're familiar with. So if council doesn't have any questions at all, I'll introduce resolution number 2026-09.
Resolution number 2026-09 was introduced by Councilmember Willis, approving the purchase of a wide format printer from Access Systems for the Blair Public Library from donated funds.
Make motion to adopt resolution number 2026-9 as presented.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution number 2026-9. Please register your vote.
All council members present voting aye.
Motion passes. Item number 13, consider resolution 2026-10, approving an on-call agreement with Olson Associates for various engineering services related to the sanitary sewer and public works. Mr. Heaton.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So a couple quick things to wrap up tonight. First one is a on-call agreement with Olson and Associates. We did a similar thing last year where same basic framework, $100,000 limit, basically an on-call agreement with them for just kind of odd job, one-off engineering needs that we need primarily on the sanitary sewers, what Olson has helped us with. Right now, I don't have any planned projects to tap this agreement, but as we did a year ago, we're going to add into this that any one individual agreement over $10,000 will come back to the council for additional approval. So these monies are all budgeted in the wastewater fund out of professional services or engineering services. And again, will just be used if we come to a need that we need an engineer to review something or sign off on something. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments from the public? Having none, water and sewer committee.
We did meet and discuss, and like CJ said, we did this last year, so we agreed in talking with him, so I would like to introduce resolution 2026-10.
Resolution number 2026-10 was introduced by Councilmember Paulson, approving an on-call agreement with Olson Associates for various engineering services related to the sanitary sewer and public works.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution 2026-10 as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution 2026-10. Please register your vote. 14, consider resolution 2026-11, approving amendment 2 with HDR for the water tower project. Mr. Keaton.
Thanks again, Mayor. So yeah, before you right now is an amendment with HDR to help us review additional potential sites for the water tower. I know at the last meeting we discussed the water tower. The direction from the council was to go back to the drawing board and come back with some better solutions. So that's what we're working on. HDR, we've started to kind of narrow down a few sites to focus on. We're having HDR kind of evaluate some of those sites, get some appraisals, initial surveys, and then just feasibility overall. So that's all that we're looking at approving tonight. We haven't really zeroed in on any particular site over another. And they're scattered from in town to almost all the way down to Fort Calhoun and everywhere in between. So we're kind of reopening the whole playbook, if you will, and taking a good look at this. And I hope within, the February, early March, we could come back with a presentation on the sites and the need for the tower and the need for the expansion, and have something that you guys can vote on. Any questions?
Thank you. Any comments from the public? Having none, Water and Sewer Committee, you're up again.
Yeah, we did meet on this. Obviously, we talked about this in the last council. This is a touchy subject, so we, trying to do what we can for everybody and make sure that we cast a wide net, right? So this is, city staff coming back saying, hey, we need an amendment to, have HDR look for more of these sites. So really, that's all that we're talking about here is just a request for, an amendment to our existing agreement with HDR. So if there's no questions, I'll introduce the resolution 2026-11.
Resolution number 2026-11 was introduced by Councilmember Letcher, approving amendment 2 with HDR for the water tower project.
Motion to adopt resolution 2026-11 as presented.
We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution number 2026-11. Please register your vote.
All council members voting aye.
Motion passes. Mr. Green.
All right, thank you, Mayor. It's been a full evening. Just a couple things to bring to your attention. Again, the February bills for utilities, water and sewer, will be going out the next day or two. Just a reminder to you and to the public that this is the first of the bills that will be going out with a $5 charge on it for those who have chosen not to go paperless. But the good news is that we've really continued to have some very good success encouraging people to go that route. So out of the 3,427 accounts that we have, we're at 2,492, which is 73% that have gone paperless. So I'm very, very pleased with that. Hope others would continue to consider that option as well. The Nebraska Aviation Symposium, which is the annual meeting of aviation-related entities here in Nebraska, is going to be meeting the next 2 days out in Kearney. So several of us are going to be going out for that. I'm going to be out there for just one day. A few of the other staff are staying for both days. So that's coming up tomorrow and Thursday. Our BSNA utilization continues to go well, but we're going to be honest, it's a challenge. It's always a challenge with new software that's fairly complex. Every week during our staff meetings, I've been challenging the staff, don't be complacent. You've got to push through these kinds of things. So we've taken on a challenge of every week naming one process that we want to improve, one thing that we need to learn how to do better, one screen that needs to have the view improved on it, or a report that needs to be done better. And so far staff has been doing well with that, but it's going to continue to be a grind over the next 6 months, and we're very open-minded about that. Lastly, I did want to let you know, let the public know, that a letter was sent by Jeff Byerman today to Von Low Investments regarding the loss at 1600. We had been informed that funding is available to them again, so we're expecting them to continue to aggressively and regularly work on that facility. We will continue to monitor that as well. And we've been informed that there are others who are prepared to step in if for some reason they're not prepared to continue to move forward with that. So we'll keep you abreast of that as we go forward. So any questions for me?
Plan B.
Plan B for that building?
Yeah.
Again, we've been told by the lender that he has other contractors in line if this one doesn't perform. And so they've asked us to kind of make sure that they're continuing to move forward. If we see a further delay that will happen sometime down the road, we will not hesitate at all to call that lender and let him know what's going on. And, that building, number one, obviously needs to be enclosed, and we would hope that would be finished up within the next 30 to 60 days at a maximum. But then the work just needs to continue on. We want to see that building being utilized. It's an important corner for us. We want to see the right-of-way open back up, so we'll be pursuing that as quickly as we can as well. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
And go Big Red.
Couldn't let it touch your skin.
And I would like to propose a motion to adjourn this meeting of the Blair City Council.